I'm on a quest to find music and art. Supporting local talent is the place I start. Yeah, this is our culture, the place to be. Games, books, arts and crafts and jewelry. This the guardians of the geekery. 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 And now for today's episode of Guardians of the Geekery with your hosts, Matt, Carol, and Joey.
Okie dokie, Guardians of the Geekery back with a special Geekery Market edition. We're on the final run-up to November 15th at the Cabarrus Arena and Event Center. This is our third year back there, and I think it's pretty good. We've got 30,000 square feet of geeky goodness, and we're collecting canned goods and non-perishable items, food items for Second Harvest. Food Bank still doing a great job getting food to the folks who desperately need that still. So check us out at the geekerymarket.com and get all the info you need. Also Charlotte Geeks. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to some people have only one social channel that they favor. So we actually have a Charlotte Geeks meetup, and I get copied on a lot of the editions, and it's several times a day. We've got groups of new members constantly jumping on board there. So if meetup's your place, no problem. You can go to the Charlotte Geeks meetup there, and we've got the meetup scheduled for the Geekery Market. So you can just check in there, or we've got Facebook, we've got Blue Sky, we've got Instagram, of course, and just TikTok. Almost everywhere you want to be, we're trying to be there.
And we have a Discord as well.
So Discord's great, and our other core member Wanda does a great job there with helping people with gaming, especially. She loves Dungeons and Dragons like a lot of us, and so there's just a lot of places where you can meet, and all year long, but especially with the Geekery Market. No reason to people say, "Oh, I forgot about it." Well, we're on everything, so please don't forget about it. Please come out, and it's always a great time, and we look forward to seeing everybody there. But hey, speaking of greatness, we've got from Leveled Up Geek, Kat McGill returning. Hey,
hi. Yay!
And I love you're wearing what you sell, which I love that. So.
I make what I love.
Exactly. That's even better.
I think part of that's the key, right? Like if you're making stuff that you love, it's not as much of a chore. I'm not going to say it's never a chore, because there's definitely days where you're like, I have to make 20 sets of these, but it's not as much of a chore because you're making something and you can adjust it and vary it and be creative with it, but it's something that you love. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Whenever I'm
Please agree
starting
with
to
me.
make, yes, well, whenever I'm starting to make something new, I always start off with, okay, well, what do I like? And then I get comfortable with that. And then I start to branch out from there. Like, okay, well, how can I change it up a little bit? How can I make it this way, that way? But I always start with, what do I love? Selfishly, but it works. It's my process.
Plus, you can always claim the first set as your own, the first stuff is yours. It's like, well, this was just a prototype, so this one's mine, and now I'll make it for everybody else.
That's right.
Right. And maybe it's just a little bit different, so it's always your set is a little bit unique. So yeah, so I read a book by Jennifer Weiner. She's made several best-selling books. One is called In Her Shoes. And she makes this comment in there about how, like, no matter what size you are, shoes always love you. Well, that's not always true. Because if your feet start to swell, your shoe size changes. But accessories, like earrings, always fit. Rings, you have to go up and down in size, bracelets, etc. But I love earrings. I'm a little addicted to earrings. If anybody's been on my TikTok or Instagram, you may have seen my wall of earrings. But accessories are the one thing that are kind of universal. You know, you can change your glasses, you can change your earrings, you can change what you wear in your hair, and it doesn't matter what size you are. You know, it can fit and or it can be adjusted, right? So you can, you know, like I have this tied on so it can fit whatever size head needs to fit, you know. And I think that's one of the universal things. And I definitely know as a plus size person, kind of growing up when I would go with my friends to the mall, I was a beeline to the accessories because A, it was cheaper. 9 times out of 10, I could wear it more. I had more opportunities to wear it. And, you know, it would always be my size. So I never had to worry about somebody finding a top that was cute, but it wasn't big enough for my 5'10" plus size body. So I appreciate people like you. We always give and jewelry a hard time at the market because there's so many people that apply, but when you find the jewelry you love, it's awesome. So so that being said, welcome back, Kat. We're so glad to have you. We were actually talking about you on an earlier episode about your relationship with Gwineria Blythe. And so why don't you talk a little bit about that? And then also just talk about what earrings and different accessory pieces, etc., that you'll be bringing this year that people can look for.
Yeah, so me and Gwineira, we go way back at this point. We've been friends for almost 9 years now. And our friendship has just grown over the years. It actually took, it took some time before I got to meet the Gwineira side, but I know her alter ego. But we started realizing, okay, we have a lot of artistic styles and artistic interests in common. And she does, of course, she writes her books, but then she also does a lot of watercolor prints. And so we got the idea one day, we were sitting around talking, and we got the idea to make a collection together based off of Greek mythology. And so now we've expanded out to basically be but it's 12 different gods and goddesses right now, with room to potentially grow. And then I have in the past made earrings that have collaborated with that. So our styles tend to mesh together really well. We're now working on a line of cryptids. So expect to be seeing that starting to come in soon. So it's been very exciting. We're constantly, like, our notebook of ideas is ridiculous. We've got stuff for years yet, and we're like, we have no time. We need to focus, narrow it down. But it's a good
So
problem
for somebody who's not familiar, what is a cryptid and what might that look like?
Yeah, right now we're focusing, we've got Mothman, very, very popular, Nessie and Bigfoot are what we're focusing on right now, kind of the big three. But we are planning on expanding that out to maybe some more local ones, like South Carolina's got the Lizard Man stories. We're going with kind of a little bit of a cutesy angle, a little whimsical, but not super cartoony, just incorporating that watercolor style and then using taking her prints and also incorporating them into charms that I can then make earrings with. So we're working together to bring that to life.
That is awesome. Will any of that be ready for the Geekery market, or is that later on down the road?
We're working, well, the whole tariff situation has kind of put a hindrance on the charm angle of it, but we will have some stickers and possibly some prints available for the Geekery market.
You bring up a good point, and I don't think we've really talked about it. We're not going to get too political on this podcast. Obviously, we're open and inclusive to everybody, but just from a retail standpoint, can you talk a little bit about how the tariffs have impacted your business and what that means to a small business like yourself versus like the big box retail stores?
Yeah. I am having to start being a little more choosy about what all I'm getting, being really selective about where I'm ordering from. Some suppliers are just flat out not even shipping to the US right now. So I'm having to be very selective about where, what countries I'm looking to for different things. Right now, before everything kind of went into effect, I did go ahead and place some larger orders of things that I knew I'd need to stock up on. So I should be good on several things for quite some time yet without needing to raise prices. I'm trying to work as hard as possible to not have to raise prices on anything to accommodate for those extra fees. I am hopeful I can carry on like that. Hopefully this will change, the situation will change and we can go back to what was normal, hopefully. We'll
Hopefully.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now it's kind of up in the air, but as of right now, I have not had to raise prices on anything. That's one of my goals with my business is always to keep my products affordable while still paying myself, but still keeping it as affordable as possible for everyone.
Yeah. So I think the thing some people don't realize is that as it progresses, that margin that you currently have is going to get thinner and thinner. And then there will be a point where it's either I have to raise my prices or I cannot make these anymore. Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the challenge for people is that some of the stuff that you buy, nobody here in America is making them at a price that's affordable. And I realize that everybody needs to be paid a fair wage across the globe, but there are ways to handle it. And sometimes the tariffs aren't doing what they think they're doing. It is hurting the American populace as much, if not more, than the rest of the world. The rest of the world can figure out how to survive without us. Trust us.
Yeah.
At least, on the more extra stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
this is not corn or flour. This is earrings, right? So like,
Right.
they can live without the earrings, but they can't, live without the food. So, for the most part, this is where it starts to impact individuals as opposed to corporations at a
Yeah,
higher
mostly
level.
small businesses rather than large box stores.
Exactly.
And especially as
And
people have to start making the choice between, okay, well, I have enough for my groceries this week. I don't have enough for this pair of earrings as well. That's another area where the tariffs are impacting us because they have to start being a lot more choosy with their money.
And we've definitely heard from others, other events.
Yeah.
It's down. Things
Yeah,
are down
it
right
is.
now. So
It is.
it's even more critical, more now than ever, that if you love something and you want it to stay, you have to support it. This is where
Yeah.
your dollars have as much power as anything, right? So if you love small artists, if you love the ability for people to be more creative and less structured by, or impacted by AI, et cetera, you have to support them with your dollars and not just your, oh, that's so pretty. Pay me for it, please.
And sometimes I can just look like, I've had people who have purchased from me in the past, they can't afford anything this time, but they've taken extra of my cards and they've given them out to people who have enjoyed what they're wearing. And I appreciate that too, very much so. Spreading the word of mouth is one of the best ways to get new customers. And I understand not everybody can afford extras right now, but getting the word out there to maybe somebody who can, very appreciated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, show us the pretty stuff.
Okay. Let's see. All right, I will show this first. Obviously, it will no longer be Halloween, but Halloween is a state of mind.
That's
So
that's an all year thing.
Yes, I have my adorable little cat ghosts, and I'm very happy about them. This was definitely one of those where I designed it for me first. I was very inspired by. So it's a kind of a polarizing topic, but pink is very much a Halloween color this year, and I am on board with it because I love pink. So I brought that in, and I'm very excited about it. I have my cat ghosties, as well as several other Halloween looks that will probably still be out because again, it's Halloween all year round.
thing. Yeah.
on that subject that we were talking about of accessories fitting everyone, I recognize many, many people do not have their ears pierced, do not wish to. So I have been expanding out my line of ear wraps.
Oh, how beautiful.
They just hook right over
Whoa.
your
Oh,
ear.
wow.
And I make
Oh,
them
goodness.
with dinosaurs, celestial. I make some that are more fairy looking.
Oh.
They're very, very fun. I like to incorporate a lot of natural stones with these. And no two end up being exactly the same. They're definitely a lot more of my unique pieces because it's
My
just
my niece
as
would love that. I've got
they're
to
very,
Those
very
are
pre-order
fun.
great
for me
for
for that.
people who
Yeah.
don't want to put holes in their ears.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can't do the pinching little clip-on earrings.
Exactly.
Putting something an ear cuff around your ear or an ear wrap is really nice. And it's a nice way not to have to put holes in your, and I say this as someone who has several holes in her ear, so
Yeah. Yeah. And they're fun too. Even, there's some people that just want to wear just a little stud. They like to keep their earrings very simple, maybe just a small gold hoop. If you want a little bit of a fancier look very quickly, you can pop this on and then you're instantly glammed up without having to actually change out whatever earring you typically wear.
Carol, you could put them on your earpieces so that
I
way
can,
you
yeah.
don't feel
Yeah.
like your jewelry is being covered up
I'm,
by your headphones. You just
yeah, I'm trying to get away from the headphones, but that'll be when I move the computer to a less echoey place.
but
And then
stuff like that, because you've seen them where they do the little
Yeah.
ears and stuff, but sometimes, and like you have the shorter hair, Kat, but you said you used to have the really long hair,
oh
and
yeah.
I find like that's the biggest challenge for me. If I want my hair to be, you know, visible on camera, then you can't always see my earrings. I have to figure out how to do that. But something like that, where it's a little more chunky and sits behind the ear, it's not going to pull my ear down, but it could sit actually kind of on top of the hair as opposed to behind the hair.
And I have found that for those of us with glasses, it's wonderful because you can kind of tuck it behind your glasses arm and then it just holds it right there in place.
Yeah, nice.
And then my final thing
So
that
Matt, you could wear it because you could tuck it right behind your glasses today.
Well, I know you're joking, but also I was thinking like when COVID was really rampant, we all had to wear face masks for safety, and it's like as a glassware, you're trying to undo that and undo that, but it's kind of cool not having if you get your earring caught and then start pulling, it's like But yeah, that's a great solution where you can layer it on and not lose part of your earlobe in the process. So I'm all for that.
Yep.
Very cool.
And then my final thing that I've made recently is expanding out my hair accessories to these awesome dragons.
Oh my
that's
goodness.
so pretty.
Pretty.
With the
Wow.
D20.
Yes. So not for those of us with shorter hair, but I can appreciate it.
I am
It's definitely for the
still
longer hair.
trying to figure out the girly side of Joey. I'm still trying to figure out all the hair things. I buy them and then I hand them to Carol. I'm like, Carol, I've had this for four months now. I've tried to wear it twice. I just can't do it. Please take this. But
That's how I get my
they're
stash of
beautiful.
hair.
I love them.
Hair berets.
I love them.
Birds.
You have the chopsticks as well, correct?
I do.
You still sell
Yes.
those? So
Yes. Especially my sword ones. They are extremely popular.
My hair is a
Those
bit
are
too
so
thin
cool.
for chopsticks. That's I love the idea of chopsticks, but my hair is just a little bit too thin. They won't stay in. You kind of need that nice full head of hair for chopsticks to actually work.
yeah,
But
your hair
they're
is
so
thinner
pretty.
and mine is fine, but too thick.
Yeah.
You got to get in between, but you could always like clip it up and then just put them in decoratively. So
I might try one of my beard. It's getting the volume, I think, now. Where you could just do a
you could
sword
get those
fade,
little
like,
clip charms and do a couple little Viking braids off
There
of
you
either
go.
side. Yeah. There was a guy on TikTok that was showing how he does a beard bun, and I'm like, no. Fine for him, one step too far for my husband. Thank you. If I get a vote on anything, that's the one thing I'm gonna have to say no.
So
I'm
I
with
do
you.
have,
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Well,
do
there's
have
two
little,
things. He's not allowed to not have any facial hair because that's how I met him. And I will be honest with you, if he had not had pictures of himself with facial hair in his profile, I might not
Wow.
have swiped right.
You're so superficial.
He knows
makes a
this.
difference.
He
Oh,
knows
yeah.
this.
I'm baby faced, but I'm also it just looks wrong. It just I don't know, without some kind of facial hair, it just looks wrong. So, and I've had a very close beard before too, but even that looks much more natural. But I mean, I've had facial hair since I was 19 of some sort, like goatee or whatever, and yeah, just how my face says, hey, you need to grow hair. So
I remember when I was when I was 6, my dad had always had facial hair, always, always, always had a beard.
Oh.
He shaved it all off except for just a little mustache one day, and I cried and cried because I thought he was a different man. It was not my daddy anymore. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
I understand.
Well, and Matt did it on a whim, and then he took a job where they said, you can have facial hair or you cannot have facial hair, but you cannot have the growing in phase. If you
What are
want
you
to,
supposed
if
to
you
do?
go on vacation and not shave and then come back with it fully in there. But they didn't want that in between scraggly. It had to be full or not full.
You know what?
So,
There's a coincidence that happened right around that same time. You're a recruiter.
yeah, I as a
And all of a
recruiter found
sudden
him another job.
you found me a job. That's quite odd. But they don't have that
I was
restriction.
very selfish. I was like, he was working as a car salesman. And so they didn't want him to look disheveled. He had to, you had to have the Oxford or the suit, or, you had to be dressed up with the pants and the shiny boot shoes, which were kind of ridiculous because dress shoes melted in the Carolina heat from standing on the concrete. So, but anyway, and I get it. You don't want to be buying from a salesperson that looks like, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. You want somebody that looks a little
I don't
put
know. That
together.
might be something interesting in the van.
Those
Carol,
Scooby
when the
snacks.
van comes around the corner, it is not an ice cream truck. Do not go in. Yeah, so as a recruiter, I kind of said, I don't want you working nights and weekends, and I want you to be able to grow your beard back. Give me your resume. I will help you find a job. But to be very, very transparent, I worked at an agency where I fixed his resume so that it was up to date with all the relevant skills. And then as jobs came open, I passed it off to my coworker because I didn't want anybody to feel like I was stepping out of line. But I did have the inside track of every time a new job came in, so he could be one of the first applicants. So yes, within a couple weeks, I got him a daytime job where he was allowed to grow his beard back. So
All that.
now
Just
you know
from,
that. Okay,
from
so
from
talking about
Hairbanks.
jewelry. So this is your third year at the Geekery Market in Cabarrus,
Yes.
but you have been with us off and on for years. Like, how many have you been to now? 5, 6?
This is actually my third one. Yes, I actually just started 3 years ago. I was interested in it before then, but the dates weren't lining up right with what I had available. But no, this will
Were
actually
you
be
ever
my
at
third
the
one.
sports complex?
No.
Oh, so you never had the squish factor.
No.
You never had the squish factor.
No, I've always had the nice spread out.
Yeah. You came in at the right time. You came in at the right time. Yes.
So, one of the questions we were asking on the spotlights, the written spotlights, is kind of like, what things are you, or which vendors, as you've been looking over the list of who's coming, are you excited? Obviously, you have a relationship with some of them, but from your perspective, what are some things that you would tell somebody who maybe it's their first time hearing about the Geekery market, and what they can expect, what they should do, and any tips you might have for them besides going straight to your table first? Because then if you have to do because you do adjustments on site. We didn't talk about that. I know we talked about. So if you prefer a dangly earring and you see an earring on Kat's table that is a stud, she may be able to switch that or vice versa. And do some adjustments right on site. So go to hers first, then she can do your adjustments while you're shopping other places.
Very
now
true.
I'm going to let you talk.
Yeah. I think the thing that I usually tell people about the Geekery market is that you think you've gone to really well curated events where there's all sorts of different vendors and unique ones, not just like the same type of thing over and over and over. You think you've done that. And then there's Geekery Market. And it's this next level above that, because there are some truly unique, very unique things there that I do not see at other shows. Or I'll see something similar to it, but it's not really to that level. And that's always what I'm most impressed about every time I go. I mean, I spend what little time I get to walk around. I walk around and I'm always just, ooh, because there's always something new there that I had never actually seen before at any other show, which is very exciting because it feels like, you see similar styles of things over and over and over, and then there'll be completely new stuff there. And the other thing I would say is that please bring the whole family. Please do, because there are so many events going on during the day that everyone's going to have something to do and be entertained and learn something and have fun.
Yeah, I always am tickled when I see other people's photos afterwards and you see the grandma sitting next to the grandchild playing with the Legos or making the puppets or doing the scavenger hunt. And some of the Con family that you see getting all giggly because our David Tennant looking cosplayer, because Carol always says, don't tell him it's David Tennant.
No, don't tell him it's David Tennant.
But if you catch a quick glimpse, you'll do a double take.
You'll do a double take.
He's gone back in time a little bit, but yeah. So our cosplaying doctor, I had one person who was kind of shy about asking him if she could take a picture with him at the TARDIS. I think your booth was kind of close to them.
Oh,
and I was like,
had a
come
great view
on,
the whole
I
time.
will take you over. I will take you over. But yeah, I mean, there are, and I have to say there is, so this is being taped the weekend of September 12th and 13th. And there were a couple other events happening in town, and I saw people complaining about the price and about the parking and about the long lines. And then when they got in, everything was really expensive again. So like there was a couple that went in and they just went there for the food and they paid like $170, and they said it was appetizer sized portions. It wasn't meals, and not to be me, but to be me, I went in and said, please come to the Geekery market. First of all, it's free. Second of all, you only have to bring a canned good for Second Harvest. There's 3,000 parking spaces, so yes, you pay $10 for parking. We have worked on making the lines shorter for getting in. We also are going to have cosplayers like stormtroopers double checking to make sure that these are not the droids we're looking for, or that you have no ectoplasm, in that bag of canned goods that the Ghostbusters may need to inspect. So, we try to make it fun from the get-go. And we're not going to have like all the bells and whistles that, a county run or a state run event is going to have. We're not going to have all these majorly beautiful decorations. Let me just say that. But we have fun stuff. We have life-size 3D droids that are going to be there. We have photo opportunities. We have free things for your kids to do where you don't have to walk up to each place and say how much. Most of it, there is a good mix of free and low cost activities. Like, it will cost you to get a caricature. It won't cost you to make a puppet with your kid. That kind of stuff. And we have like new musicians this year and they are excited. So, I'm really excited for them to have part of it. They're actually up at the event today. for a different, they're at Cabarrus for the state fair, but they're like, which building are we in? I might go check it out and double check about some things. And it's like, I'm excited about it. So, and I think, you guys get excited about it because it's going to be, hopefully a worthwhile event for you. So that's it. But I cut you off again. I'm sorry.
No,
Carol, why aren't you
Yes.
yelling at me?
When you're on a roll, it's kind of hard to go to Joe, to Joe, to Joey, to Joe.
Well, Kat, your stuff is always amazing.
Yes.
And if people want to check it out beforehand, maybe order some of those Halloween stuff in time for Halloween, and get some other things, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can come to my Etsy shop at Leveled Up Geek, is my name on Etsy. And then that is also my Instagram handle. Those are usually the best places to find what I'm working on. I will say some of my Halloween designs are gone. They sold out between online and other conventions this summer. They have gone. So if you want something, get on it. May or may not be able to restock it. We'll see. Yeah, but I love pre-orders. If you see something in particular you really want, or something you like for me to try to make ahead of time, we can discuss that. I love custom stuff, so just talk to me and we'll work something out.
Yeah, and it's a great way to kind of show your inner geek without having to be the standard black t-shirt, right? So the D20 dice in the ear may give somebody an idea that this is not your average, normal walking around. So make sure to check it out. We always love having you. We're so glad that you're part of the Geekery Market family.
Thank you.
Please check her out. Now, like she said, it's Leveled Up Geek. So just remember that you are leveling up already. So it is past tense Leveled Up Geek. Of course, you can find her link in the show notes. You can also go to geekerymarket.com, click on the 2025 artisan list, and you can check out some of her sites, her photos, her articles, and pictures of other people that are going to be there as well as some of the activities. So please check that out. And Kat, thank you as always for being on today. And we will see you in November, if not before. So
okay, bye.
That was an episode of Guardians of the Geekery. Thank you for listening. Check us out at guardiansofthegeekery.com and stay tuned for more content.